Howdy everybody in YouTube land. So this is part 2 of the restoration series on the Akai GXC-39D. I decided that I'm going to restore this one because this is my original one from the mid 90s when me and Dad got it at the thrift store, and at least I know its history from that point forward. And it was 20 years old by that point. That is the same difference as buying an early iPod or MP3 player today, to put things into perspective. Crazy to think about. And today it's now 47 years old. So I've actually had this thing longer than it was originally when it was manufactured when I first got it. Crazy to think about. So, anyways, at least I know the history from that point. And compared to the other chassis, it's not nearly as used as much. I mean, there's some scuffing in here, but it's not nearly as bad. The head's not nearly as bad, and the pinch roller is still clear, not cracked, and viable. So, and I can actually push on a little bit. It's still rubber. So this one is going to be a much better candidate, I think. So the wire was cut on the solenoid. So here's the history behind this one. I used this a little bit as a kid, and I had problems with it, and I didn't know how to fix it at the time, so I tapped on it. A channel kept going in and out, and it sat around. So sometime in the mid 2000s, I pulled it back out, and I knew how to fix stuff like this at that time, so I sprayed the record play switches and got the intermittent channel problem fixed. But it started running slower. From when you would start it up, it'd spin the right speed and it'd get slower and slower and slower. But the last thing I ever did with this was I recorded a tape on both sides so I can use it in the Walkman and the car and stuff like that. But then it sat. It hasn't been messed with since. And it kept, even in the mid 2000s, it kept tripping out. So you would press play to play it, and then the relay would go boink and trip it out. So I cut this wire. And really, the problem was the belt that goes over here. So this is the one that I'm going to restore, and I'm going to use parts off the other one to fix it. Now, the problem that we have, though, is the holes that the top plate screws go in. This one will not thread in. The threads are all marred up. It's trying to go in there crooked. So this one over here, no problem. Screws right in. So I'm going to have to replace this top plate. I'm going to have to steal the one from the other one, I think. But this one is in much better shape. There's no corrosion or anything, so, which there shouldn't be because I've owned it for the majority of its life at this point. This one over here, no, it's just wanting to go in crooked. It's not wanting to go in straight, so that's a problem. See, this one here, what's it doing? Is it going to go in? Nope, it's going to go in crooked. So I think all the threads are just marred. They're completely gone. But the good thing is this whole side piece, I believe, can come out. So I can remove this piece off the other chassis and put it here. So I can replace that. Sure, I can run a tap through there, but I don't have one. So I'm just going to replace this side piece. Same thing here. I could probably run a tap through this, and it's actually crimped onto the other side, so I can't replace that standoff. But it might just be easier to replace the top plate, I think. We'll see. So we'll have to get all that off anyways, because we have to work on the circuit board underneath. So I think if I'm going to go this far to restore this, I'm probably going to go ahead and throw a set of caps on that main board. Because the main board, well, it's kind of jammed in there right now. But I think if I pull that out like so, I'll try to get it caught in, but there we go. Yeah, I can bend it out like that. So there's the main board. Man, this thing smells just exactly how I remembered it smelling 27 years ago. Yeah, it hasn't changed much. So all of those capacitors are going to go on the other one. I don't know about this one, but on the other one, there was a few of these that were leaking. This one has all different brand capacitors in there. This isn't full of Elna brand, so these actually might be all right. We'll have to see. But the other one was full of those gray Elnas, and they were starting to piss on the board. So yeah, all right. So I think what we're gonna do is start restoring this thing. So as you remember from the previous video, to recap, the one that was in bad shape only had a single pulley here. This is a double pulley, and at least this motor is in good shape. It spins. So I think, yeah, I think we're going to restore this one. There's the magnet for the reed switch, which has been removed here. There's a rubber tire here. Still feels pliable and good. There's another rubber tire here. I might lightly go over it with some alcohol and sandpaper a little bit, but it still feels good. So I'm going to leave that alone. This one's seized a little bit, so I'm going to have to go in here, work with that. That one's also seized a little bit. It freed up once I worked at it a bit. That one's good too. So, alright. At this point, I think we just need to start restoring these. And yeah, the other thing I want to do, I definitely want to replace the capacitors on here, so I think we'll do that. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but I'm still kind of doing a deeper assessment here. And then there's the record play switches that I had to clean. I probably got to go over it again, because it's only been 17 years, 18 years. So, okay. Well, let's see. Where do I want to start? I think I want to start with the mechanism first. Get the belts on there and get it re-lubricated and cleaned up, and then we'll work on the board next, I think. Yeah, let's do it that way. Let's approach it that way. So I'm currently in the process of taking apart the mechanism so I can clean everything underneath it. And this is where reference photos are really going to be helpful here. So I got some of those. But all the screws coming out, all of these Jesus clips coming out, and just getting random parts laying over there. Took the eject and pause mechanism out because I got to get to this dried up gummy grease. It's just very hard to move. So it's all got to come out. And anyone that's working on these cassette decks, you got to clean up all of this grease. And we got to get some new grease and lay it on there. You can probably do away with some of this lightweight machine oil in a pinch, but really with this kind of stuff, when you're heavy use, you need some kind of a grease. The other thing that's going to be helpful here too is looking at the service manual. Now, since I printed out a schematic, the service manual for this is actually publicly available online. So if you have one of these, I highly recommend going to the service manual because it will tell you how to take this apart, how to put it together and stuff like that. But even then, I like to go take it as I go and look at the, the reference photos and stuff like that. But all this grease is all dried out. It's kind of still there, but not really. So it's all got to go. As I'm getting ready to finish taking this apart and clean this up, I had to run to the auto parts store real quick and get some stuff. So this is the sad state of affairs of our current situation in this time of this recording. So this is just white lithium grease, or maybe not even white, but it's just lithium grease, which is kind of what that is. And $5, not a big deal, right? But I'm starting to get the stuff all over my hands, so I decided to go get gloves. $40. $40 for a pack of gloves. And no matter where I went, I tried cheaper brands, stuff like that. They're all the same price. They're between 30 and $40. It's insane where we are right now. And I guarantee the C virus has a lot to do with that. Anyways, rant over. So it's time to finish taking this apart and get it all cleaned up with my Q-tips, alcohol, and get some gloves on because it's getting all over my fingers. And I don't like the feel of that grease. It's just gross. We are definitely getting there. I got everything all cleaned up for the most part. I'm still going at it with some Q-tips and paper towels and stuff, but there's a few rust spots and corrosion blemishes and stuff like that. It's not a big deal. I got to get underneath it and get the rails and stuff underneath, but yeah, it's looking better. But let me tell you, this is like mopping the bathroom floor with a damn toothbrush. It's painful, but we're getting there. So we're gonna keep on plugging away. Alright, now it's time to remove some parts on the back side and clean those up. And then I'm gonna start reassembling this with my grease, starting with the back side first, and then we'll work our way up to the front side. But I think while I have this apart, I might get down in here and get some contact cleaner and clean these switches and stuff out. That would make the most sense, I think. And put a couple drops of oil into this motor, even though the bearing seems okay. I want to make sure. So, yep, time to start cleaning all this lube up and redoing it. Alright, I got all the pieces removed out of there that I want to remove. And it's all just kind of laying over here now. That's going to be magical to try to put this thing back together again. Considering this has all occurred over the span of a few days. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. But I think we'll get it. Just going to clean it all up now, and then we're going to start re-lubricating and reassembling. Thank God for gloves. Got the grease can open. This stuff is a little bit red, but getting it all laid down there a little bit liberally, and we're going to start putting this thing back together bit by bit. This is going to get messy. I got the bottom all lubed up the best I possibly can. Everything slides freely, luckily, so I can just, you know, move that guy and it's all good there, and I can move him. It's all good there, so alright. I might need to work that a little bit more, but anyway, so while I have this thing apart, I got some of the parts in this baggie from who knows when I took this thing apart. I'm going to start getting the belts on here. So I've got the original belts over there, but I bought a belt kit and it has arrived, so I'm going to hopefully put the belt on that. The only trouble I'm going to have here is I don't think this is the right belt kit, because I've got a wide belt which is too long. Hold on. So I've got a flat belt, a square belt, and then I got two smaller belts. But if I look at the originals, which are over here, I have the narrow belt, which is that one. But then I have a medium-sized belt, which is bigger than the small belts that are in there. So that's for the counter. So unless that belt really stretches, I don't think that's right. And then I have this longer belt, which is the original belt. That went around the drive pulley, and that's much bigger than any of those. So this one's going to be an interesting one to set up, but we'll see. I'm going to at least try to get the one belt in there, which means I got to get the reel out of that so I can get the belt in there, because I can't put this clip on until that belt is in place, because it goes underneath this. So unfortunately, I've got this belt in there, but unfortunately the original belt is way too loose even after boiling it. And the one that they gave me is way too short. And it, even though it'll fit, it's way too tight. It's putting too much friction on this gear, and it won't spin. Like if I hold this back, which pushes this drive to here and here, I can spin this, right? Well, I wasn't able to spin it. So unfortunately, we're going to have to figure out a different solution here. Alright, so while we're waiting on the proper belt to arrive for the bottom, which goes to the tape counter, we might as well just start working on the top and slowly start getting that back in order here. So we're going to grab our big can of jelly, and we're going to start cleaning all those slide mechanisms and all that stuff off, and then we're going to start putting it back together bit by bit. So I ran into a problem with the Akai. This is the only stuff that I could get local, which is I was using, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a lithium grease. It's more of a generic lithium grease. The problem is the viscosity of this stuff is too thick. And when I tried to use it on the top, it just, the retaining spring didn't have enough tension to overcome the thickness of this. So I can't use this stuff. So after doing some research, I decided to order this, which is just, it's motor assembly grease, but really it's a white lithium grease, and this stuff doesn't feel as thick. So I'm going to use that instead. But for now, I think that'll be the end of part 2 of this video. So we'll pick this up again after I get that on there and all put back together. The belts have arrived, so I'll be able to get that done too, and we will pick this back up in the next video. So anyways, thank you for watching, and if you have a comment, please feel free to leave one. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, and until next time, guys.